The sight of a demonic snake person getting sliced like a Sunday roast means we can only be playing Doom Eternal. I can also tell I'm making a video about Doom Eternal because I just looked at our subscriber count and would you believe it? 666. It's a sign that tells you. Anyway, back to the game. It's a tricky sequel to Frame. It's so stuffed with violent delights and violent ends that I was puzzled about where to start. Should I talk about feeding grenades to caco demons with a comedy gulp? And then pulling out the eye with an equally funny pop? Do I sing the praises of the giant button that turns a corridor into an industrial food processor? Or do we just sit back and enjoy the slow motion delights of the Chrono Strike as the Doomslayer does his very best impression of Neo in the Matrix? All of this stuff is magic and I'll talk about them in a moment, but I think I have to start with this machine. So to start with, just see what it does.
Connection successful. You are now in control of the Revenant drone. You may use it to reclaim your property.
Yes, this device puts us in the shoes of a Revenant. That's the cheeky bone boy with a rocket launcher on each shoulder and a jetpack on his back. That's the rocket launchers and jetpack you can now turn on the Revenant's best friends as you mulch, murder, mutilate, and other horrible verbs beginning with M. Playing as the demon feels like an obvious inclusion when you consider that Doom Eternal's multiplayer battle mode is a man versus monster event that puts some players in the shoes of the various monsters. Here in the campaign you only get to try those boots on for a little bit of time, but it's a great advert for multiplayer and a palate cleanser after soaring up goons as the Doomslayer. I particularly like that this whole fight ends with unlocking the super shotgun, which the Revenant then carries back to the Doomslayer and has to hand it over. And what does he get in return? Well, what did you expect? Of course, a 10-foot tall skeleton doesn't really have any natural advantages over the Doomslayer. As I covered in my last video, the link's in the top corner, our hero has learned new tricks over the last 4 years. There's his flame belch that causes enemies to drop shards of armour. Is this because they are so hot that they're taking off their clothes? Who knows? Then there's the blood punch. For every 2 glory kill executions, you get to throw a punch so strong that just looking at it makes your guts explode. You can always tell a power is going to be badass when the pickup token is bigger than your actual body. Another new toy are the freeze bombs, which is an alternate grenade for your shoulder-mounted item launcher, and also the means to bring a touch of winter to anyone it hits. Not the fun winter with the presents and the mulled wine. This is the winter that hardens the blood in your veins while a maniac chips bits off you with a rocket launcher. I personally find demons more fun to kill when they're warm and squishy, but there's no denying the appeal of flipping over a frozen arachnotron. The Doom equivalent of cow tipping. But for my money, which is incidentally giant pennies handed over by ghost knights, no new toy in the game compares with the combat shotgun sticky bombs. They replace the grenade upgrade from the previous Doom, or rather they add a bit of glue to it, and the difference is night and day. Sticky bombs are so much better behaved, clinging to heads for explosive decapitations or landing neatly in the middle of a swarm where it can blow limbs out at 360 degrees. Bombs are great for blasting gun turrets off the back of arachnotrons or just splattering smaller demons on the spot. And even if it is a bit slow to reload, I still found myself holding that secondary fire for entire fights, as these things are just so damn fun. Where sticky bombs really come alive, or rather stop other things from being alive, is when they're combined with the new Chrono Strike room. With this power, activating secondary fire when in midair briefly slows down time, letting you line up that bomb exactly where you want it. Maybe you're dropping down from great heights, raining fiery death as you go. Perhaps you use a backwards dash to launch yourself from a platform and fire into the face of your pursuer. The liberal use of jump pads gives most arenas a place to launch aerial assaults from. I found myself leading enemies to these pads like the Pied Piper, then turning in midair to drop bombs on anything dumb enough to follow me. It's not only a great combat trick, but it just looks cool. A frozen moment to drink in particle effects and tiny chunks of demon lungs floating through the air. As long as you keep secondary fire squeezed, you can enjoy that slow motion until the power runs out. I particularly love this shot of following my rocket mid-air. I should point out, Chrono Strike does drain and take a few seconds to recharge, but it's such a slick visual moment and a good tactical skill that you'd be mad to unlock any other rune first. Very quickly on the subject of runes, they no longer require you to complete rune trials to unlock. They come from these small shrines. While Chrono Strike is easily my favourite, they've also added some slow motion fun to the returning saving throw rune. Instead of just letting you survive a death blow as it did in 2016, it slows time to give you a fighting chance, turning possessed soldiers to slow motion soup in the process. If you really want to cheer yourself up, make sure to use the chainsaw while time is slowed.
My brothers and sisters, but he is weak. Your hate must match his will. Only then will you be truly safe.
Although I spent most of my time applying sticky bombs to enemy skulls, it isn't in the spirit of the game. In fact, Doom Eternal encourages you not to stick with a single weapon. Before we played, executive producer Marty Stratton lamented that people could beat the previous Doom with just a shotgun. One solution to this is new enemy weak points that respond to specific weapons. Shooting off a Revenant shoulder launchers, either with an explosion or a precision sniper shot with a heavy cannon, strips his ranged attacks and leaves him as a melee-only enemy. He's totally boned, if you will pardon the pun. The precision bolt scope is also perfect for sniping off the Mancubus's arm cannons, removing its flamethrower capabilities. It also uses a really satisfying sound effect that reminds me of the ping of an M1 Garand reloading. Of course, no sound effect rivals the Kako demon gulping down that bomb and having its eye popped, which can be achieved with either a shotgun sticky bomb or a normal grenade. But the weak point that will have 2016 Doom fans cheering is the ability to detonate the energy shields with a plasma rifle, not just breaking down the barrier, but exploding it, wiping out other sods nearby. If, like me, you always found the shield guys breaking your flow in 2016, this is a brilliant addition, with echoes of taking down a Halo Elite shield with a plasma pistol, only it's way more violent, so way better. I mean, come on, Master Chief is basically Doom Guy with a child safety cap. Even without that neat weaponry interplay, there's still an amazing momentum to Doom Eternal. It could be the freshness of new glory kills, the executions that see you feeding Arachnotron bombs into its own gob, or turning a possessed soldier's gun on himself. The fact that flesh is destructible makes a huge difference to the feel of the combat. In Doom 2016, it sometimes felt like you were pouring damage into an enemy with no real indicator of how you were doing. There's no such confusion here. When you pound projectiles into a Hell Knight, they become visibly thinner with less meat on their bones. Prioritizing attacks is a bit easier when you can read the damage more clearly. And hell, it just feels more satisfying to empty a shotgun or cannon into a crowd and see bits of meat fly into the air. Just keep an eye out for any demons with gamer tags above their names. These are empowered demons who have killed other players and can deal more punishment as a result. Avenging their victim causes them to drop more resources, however. For a man who is basically a tank in human form, I'm struck at how nimble the Slayer is and how much Doom Eternal relies on his acrobatics. The previous game had plenty of clambering as you explored for secrets, but there are stretches of Doom Eternal where it basically becomes a first-person platformer, where they're leaping between tumbling platforms, shooting yourself like a human bullet from launch pads, or swinging between monkey bars as lava nips at your toes. As I looked over a sea of hellfire, complete with giant rotating fireballs, I could almost hear the Super Mario 64 music. Most of this hinges on a couple of new moves, an aerial dash that gives you 2 extra bursts of distance but has to be recharged on the ground or refreshed in the middle of an acrobatic combo by grabbing this power up. The dash will also embed you into any climbable walls. Now, punching your way up a cliff is definitely less graceful than your other moves, but even this becomes more delicate as levels progress, such as finding cliffs covered with mines that have to be carefully avoided. It certainly makes the trip from A to B that bit more engaging, and gives id license to build some huge environments for you to clamber over. Where Doom 2016 could feel a bit small and knotty, this looks and feels truly epic. The Slayer's more bouncy bod also makes hunting for secrets that bit more interesting, with little glowing 1-up icons tempting you to hurl yourself into the abyss and find a quick escape route out, or just applying a bit of clever aerial dodging to grab prizes and then retreat. The inclusion of 1-up pickups, which revive you on the spot in combat, gives id more things to hide, often using risky jumps to reward these bonus lives. Of course, more dramatic maneuvers will reward you with better prizes. Instead of plastic Doom guys, you now collect toys of iconic enemies. Bethesda could sell these as merchandise and make a killing. I also managed to find a new floppy disk collectible that unlocks a cheat code that can be used when replaying levels from the central hub, which I'll explain in a second. Sadly, it was in the first level that we weren't allowed to capture, but I like the idea of revisiting levels with outlandish modifiers. While we're talking secret hunting, I'm also really glad that they included fast travel around the levels. When you reach the exit, you are given the chance to jump back to specific parts to help you search for items or hidden combat encounters. It's only a small thing, but much appreciated. It also made me chuckle that most hell locations could be nicknames for post-Brexit Britain. I mentioned a hub there, and here it is, the Fortress of Doom. I love what the Slayer has done with the place. The giant ominous statue of himself is very him. This gothic space station acts as a simple mission select screen, but also opens up as you power it back up with Sentinel batteries. These power cells can be found hidden in levels. Not sure who left it up here, but thanks anyway. And one can also be earned by completing all 3 bonus challenges in any level. I'm glad to see these side tasks return from Doom 2016. It was a good way of getting you to experiment with weapons and see all the horrible glory kill animations. Back on the ship, these batteries power up old machines. This is how I unlock the freeze bombs, for example. But it also seems to suggest you'll earn bonus treats. This classic Doom Guy armour, for example, has 2 Sentinel battery slots in order to unlock. I'm also very curious about what looks like a 3D printer halfway through making the BFG 9000. I mean, it wouldn't be Doom without it, I guess. But the best bit is down in the basement, where the Slayer has his Ripatorium, a prison full of demons where you can practice with all your new weapons and abilities without worrying about using up ammo or wasting extra lives. I love the idea that after a busy day of slaying, the Slayer comes home and slays some more. I mean, I've heard of people bringing their work home with them, but not then taking it down to the basement to murder it. But hey, I guess home is where the heart is, even if you are shooting that heart with tiny bombs. One of the mysteries of last year's Doom Eternal demo was the demonic corruption meter. That's this bar up here. It's nothing too freaky, basically an indicator of how much of the level's combat you've done. The green segments represent the regular battles you face during the course of a level. You get a weapon upgrade point for each segment you complete, so it's a lot like the combat rating in Doom 2016. The pink segments represent secret encounters hidden in the level. Now, I don't have video capture of these, but the encounter encounter I found felt a bit like the rune trials in the last game. They don't whisk you to separate arenas, but they do spawn new enemies and give you a tight time limit to take them down. In the one I found, this meant shooting explosive barrels to wipe out some Lost Soul skulls. I'm really intrigued to see how crazy these bonus tasks will get. Finally, you have the purple bars. These represent the toughest fights in the game, hidden behind Slayer gates. Unlocked with a giant key hidden nearby, about as well hidden as the secret level levers in 2016 Doom, the Slayer gate dumps you in a pretty full-on arena fight with enemies way beyond what you've been fighting at that point. Before going in, the game even says that it's okay to come back and try these later with more weapons and upgrades. Oh, and before you start scheming, no cheat codes are deactivated. I guess these are the proper successors to the rune trials. Not only will you be getting a big dose of weapon points for beating it, but it's suggested that beating all of them will unlock something back in the Fortress of Doom, but not for me though, as you can see. And you'll have plenty of upgrades to test on replays. Once again, you can upgrade the Praetor suit, this time using giant coins held by the ghosts of Night Sentinels. Definitely the least exciting of Doom 2016's upgrades, the suit improvements here are a bit more playful. You can refill dashes with glory kills to allow lightning fast hit and runs, or tweak grenades so that they concuss with a second explosion or spawn further bombs from demon corpses. Another lets barrels respawn during gunfights to let you enjoy explosive combos several times in the same fight. In the last Doom, I actually couldn't be bothered to buy some of the powers. These definitely sound more interesting. Likewise, upgrading health, armor and ammo is no longer done with Argent cells, but Sentinel crystals. The big difference being that selecting certain upgrade pairs unlocks bonus passives for Flame Belch and Blood Punch, extending how long the barbecue lasts, say, or causing armor shards to refill the Blood Punch. None of these are earth-shattering developments, but I like the idea that everything you collect makes you that tiny bit more vicious, adding extra debris to the tornado of carnage that is the Slayer. When you add all these features, mechanics and collectibles, it becomes very easy to believe Marty Stratton when he tells us that Doom Eternal is twice the size of Doom 2016. Just the 3 levels I play whip me from the demon-filled cities of Earth to the mysterious temples of Exultia, where a magical green wolf guides me around an epic landscape that looks like it belongs in Norse mythology. 10 minutes later, I'm unleashing slow-motion bombs on the legions of hell, and then wishing I'd brought some gloves to a frozen cultist base back on Earth. Considering that Doom 2016 gave us industrial facility after industrial facility, there's already more variety here in the length of 3 levels. Not to mention the story implications. Doom Eternal features more cutscenes than before, setting up a quest to hunt 3 Hell Priests and to visit a chap named the Betrayer, who you may remember from the lore dumps of the last game. Now, I'm not personally sold on the idea that Doom needs more story. I'm quite happy playing a bloodthirsty maniac in very pretty levels, but if you did get into the backstory hinted at in the first game's collectibles, there'll be plenty more to dig into here. Hopefully that has given you a good idea of how Doom Eternal is shaping up. I was excited about playing it before E3 last year, and please do check out that video if you want to see some later level action, but spending 3 hours from a new game file has shown what a leap it'd have made with this one. It feels like you're seeing something new or facing a fun remix of older ideas every 5 minutes. A constant bombardment of monsters, weapons, moves and locations. It's the kind of pace I'd be amazed if they can hold up for 20 hours, but if they do, I think Doom Eternal could be one of the best shooters in recent memory. It feels like big dumb fun, but clearly made by very smart people. The developers call it junk food with nutritional value, and I for one cannot wait to take a big bite on the 20th of March. If you have any questions about what I played, pop them in the comments, and do give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or even better, subscribe to Rock Paper Shotgun so you don't miss any Doom Eternal videos we have going forwards. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to retire to the Ripatorium. I will see you back here in March. Bye for now.